There are a lot of keyboard shortcuts in Framer that will speed up your work significantly, but I suspect that if I throw some of my favorites at you, there just might be a few that you're not taking full advantage of. So let's run through 8 awesome Framer shortcuts that you might be sleeping on. Shortcut number 1. Normally, when you resize a frame, Framer respects the pinning and constraints of the absolute positioned elements inside. But if you hold Command on a Mac or Control on a PC while resizing, you can temporarily ignore all of that and resize the parent freely without blowing up your layout. Shortcut number 2. Press Command or Control / and you can instantly search and insert components you've added to your workspace library. To add a component to your workspace library in the first place, just head to the Assets panel and click the Overflow menu next to the component you want to add and choose Library, Add. Now, that component will be available to insert from the Command / menu from any project in your workspace. Number 3. When layers are small or overlap, it can be tricky to drag the one that you're aiming for to move it around. But once you have your layer selected, if you hold Option and Command on a Mac or Control and Alt on a PC, then start dragging, your cursor will hold onto your selection no matter where you click and drag. It might sound small, but it's a huge help when things get crowded on the canvas. Number 4. When you want to hide a layer, it's easy enough to head to the Properties panel and toggle the Visible property to No. But if you find yourself doing it a lot, it's a heck of a lot easier to hold the Command or Control key and press semicolon to toggle visibility back and forth. Unlike setting opacity to 0, this lets you remove the element from the canvas, which means layers around it will act like it doesn't exist. Number 5. Stacks normally set their children to relative positioning, so they flow with the stack. But if you drag a layer, then keep the Control key held down on your Mac, you can pull that layer out of the flow and position it absolutely, all without having to touch the Properties panel. Number 6. When you drag layers around the canvas, they often try to reparent themselves into the frame you're hovering over. But if you hold the spacebar while dragging, you'll temporarily disable that behavior. No more accidentally dropping a layer out of or into the wrong frame. Next up is number 7, and this shortcut can actually do different things depending on what you have selected. With one layer selected, the shortcut Shift+A sets the width and height to fit. As a bonus, if the frame isn't already a stack, it'll automatically turn into one, since auto width and height don't work on regular frames. With multiple layers selected, or if the selected layer is already set to fit, Shift+A behaves a little differently. It'll instead wrap the selection in a stack and make it full width, which is the same as pressing Command Option Return on a Mac or Control Alt Enter on a PC. Bonus tip: if you don't want the position of your selection to shift, first press Command Return or Control Enter to wrap it in a regular frame, then press Shift+A to convert it to fit cleanly. And last but not least, number 8. We just talked about a few ways to wrap a layer in a frame or stack, but what about unwrapping them? If you select a frame and press Command or Control Delete, you'll remove the selected frame, but keep all of its children unscathed. It's the fastest way to undo an unnecessary wrapper without manually moving everything out of it first. Just be aware that if the next parent frame up in the hierarchy is a stack, the unparented layers will shift into the flow of that stack. So don't let that catch you off guard. And there you have it. 8 Framer shortcuts that are easy to miss, but once you know them, they seriously speed up your workflow and give you more control over things like layout, structure, and selection. That's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one.